Welcome to the Movies of the Damn podcast. My name is Kyle Grant, and I'm sitting here with my friend and published horror author John Hunt. If you enjoy what you hear here today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Instagram and Twitter at Damn Movies. Email us any questions, comments, and suggestions to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. For further details on John's published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Today, we'll be discussing Charlie Comparetto's 2019 film, Ghost in the Graveyard. When main character Sally was a little girl, her friend Martha accidentally died after falling during a game of Ghost in the Graveyard. After some time away, she returned in time for her senior year of high school. Throughout the movie, Sally is met with multiple strange occurrences and believes that Martha's ghost is haunting her. It's eventually revealed that she's actually adopted from Canada, a descendant of Mary, and evil forces are trying to get her. In the end, with the help of police, Sally is able to kill the witches and comes to the revelation that Martha is actually an angel who is helping protect her. Just to let everyone know, this movie came to our attention when Michael Mason from the media companies Tricoast Worldwide and Dark Coast Entertainment reached out to us over email. He had previously asked us to review Between the Darkness, which we both enjoyed. So when he asked if we would be interested in reviewing this movie, we were very eager to check it out and give our honest opinion. So that's how we got here today. John, opening thoughts on the movie?
So is this the same director as from Between the Darkness?
No,
Or a different director?
Just the same kind of
Production company.
distribution company.
Okay. So at the very beginning we saw Jake, the dad was Jake Busey.
Yep.
So I was a fan of his. He was in Starship Troopers.
Love that movie.
Right? And his dad also, Gary Busey, was in like Lethal Weapon,
Everything. He's in
Point
everything.
Break. Yeah, he's just been around. So I was like, oh, okay. This has there's some credit, like legitimate actor in here, right? There's a good actor in here that I actually know, and I was kind of in a good mood from that.
And I was in a good mood with the fact that it was from the same production company as Between the Darkness.
For sure.
Because I enjoyed that movie.
That was a good movie. It was a good movie, absolutely. This was not.
I was utterly disappointed with this movie.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things wrong with this film.
Yeah, and honestly, right off the bat, kind of the opening scene there with the kids playing Ghost in the Graveyard there and Martha kind of falling to her death, you could tell right away that this is more of like a kid's horror movie, almost like aimed for like a teen, preteen audience, because they were trying to make it scary and it just wasn't scary.
No, it wasn't scary at all. And even then, like, so you have a bunch of kids running around and like a bunch of kids were running around in it, and it was scary. Like that's not just the simple formula to have something scary for a certain age group. It just wasn't done effective at all. None of it was done effective very well. It seemed like a mishmash of unfinished ideas.
Yeah, it almost did, but I'm almost speaking to the fact that she kind of falls into that grave.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Like,
you're right.
There's very little gore, and she's just kind of like reaching up, and it's supposed to be this spooky scene, and it just really wasn't.
Yeah, I don't even know what killed her. Like what falling?
The fall, landing on something.
It was like, so most graves are what, 6 feet deep, like, and then she's bleeding from her mouth. I don't know what killed her. Like I don't know what killed her.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I even from that was very odd.
But then when I came to that realization, this is more of like a teen movie, a preteen movie. Okay, fine, it is what it is. Let's kind of get into the story here. And to be honest with you, and you might disagree with me, I was kind of interested right off the bat because I'm like, okay, this is kind of a cool premise. She's come back from somewhere. Where has she been? Oh, there's kind of a baby at the house. Is this her baby? Whose baby is this? And then things just kind of unravel. And both of those big questions that I was interested in were never answered.
I know, I was just about to say that. So it's like, because later on, right, Zoe, well, we'll go through it step by step in a bit, but later on, Zoe's in the house with her and saying that, you need to be sacrificed, you're a virgin, you're an innocent, so you're a virgin. What do you mean you're a virgin? Isn't that your baby? I thought Lily was her baby.
And that's what I thought too, because when you look at the one scene when the love interest comes to pick her up to walk her to school,
yeah,
and you hear the baby kind of cry over the monitor and she rushes to go deal with it,
yeah,
and then dad and brother step in. It's like, no, it's time for you to be a kid for once. We'll take care of it.
Yeah.
To me, that says everything. Okay, this is her baby.
Yeah, like she was gone for 9 months because she had a baby.
Exactly.
That's what that meant to me too.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that statement came out, I was like, wait, what? So there's very, very conflicting ideas here.
And then with the
With
fact
no clarification.
and the fact that, well, it also can't be her sibling, because
Yes.
later on in the movie it comes out, oh, I thought Mom would have told you that you came from Canada. No, I don't remember much from Mom. So
Yeah.
obviously the mother died when she was a little kid.
Yeah.
So then how do they have this little baby?
But they don't even say that she died. So, because then she asks, "Well, do you think she's still alive?" And
Oh,
then,
yeah, that's
and he's
right.
like, "Oh yeah, I believe right here." And he pumps his chest, and I'm like, "Well, is she dead or alive?" Like, and then later on, he says, "They came and took her mom."
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm like, "What? Is the mom dead?" And he goes, "I know they took her because he witnessed it or did whatever, right?" So is she what? So I don't even get none of it's. It was very very eclectic.
Exactly. And so then to come back to my original point there, John, is I was very interested in kind of the plot off the beginning here. Just like, where exactly was she? What's up with this baby? And then the fact that the questions never got answered, and then really the movie just unraveled from there right before your eyes.
Well, yeah, like I wasn't too interested. That's a normal story trope, right? Teenager goes away, has a baby. She's going to be picked on by her peers. There's going to be people that like her.
And then the rumors go around the
Yeah,
school that
so-
she was in a mental institution,
Yeah.
or she was in jail, or something like that.
Yeah, because
right?
no one really knew, so they made up rumors. Like that's I've seen that in plenty of books, and I've read that in plenty of books, and I've seen it in plenty of movies.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too interested. But I will say that it did draw me in a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to see what would happen with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as a plot tool, it wasn't too interesting. But it did draw me in. I will say that. But you're exactly right. That's a good word, unraveled, because that's exactly what this did. And I would have turned this off probably 1,000 times. 1,000 times. I watched it all the way through. But it's like there's so many points. I'm like, oh my god, what? Done. What? Done. What? It's just too
it's
much.
almost as if they were rewriting it scene by scene as the movie was going on without looking at what had previously happened in the movie.
Nothing tied together. You're absolutely right.
A great example would be, and I know we're kind of jumping all over the place here, but I don't know if you remember the final monologue at the end and that's when I realized that Martha wasn't a ghost and haunting me, but was like my guardian angel or my angel. And I'm paraphrasing there.
Okay.
And if Martha is an angel, then why does she bludgeon that young boy with a baseball earlier on in the movie? Right? Those two things don't go together.
No, so let's actually work through it just so we don't confuse the audience too much. Let's just work through the plot
Okay.
from beginning to end. Okay?
Gotcha.
So we get introduced to Martha, get introduced to the baby, get introduced to her dad and her brother.
Sorry, you mean you got introduced to Sally. Martha's the dead girl.
Sorry, that's right. So Sally. And then her love interest, Reed, shows up, and you find out that there's some sort of connection between him and the Zoe girl.
Mm-hmm.
But that's never really expanded upon.
And also, when you say love interest, it sounds like, at least from what I saw in the movie, is that Reed and Sally were kind of just really good friends.
Yeah.
Sally went away.
Yeah.
They wrote to each other, and
Yeah.
during that time, Zoe and Reed formed a little bit of a relationship.
Yeah, it's once again, this is all unclear. Like you could say that, and that's cool, and I couldn't disagree with you, and I couldn't agree with you. I have no idea.
Okay.
It was very unclear.
But anyways, she's
Yeah.
back now, and then there's this kind of a bit of a love triangle going on.
Yes, right, and that really doesn't really ever get addressed either, because Reed hangs out with Zoe later, and they're kind of in a weird position, and then he's at Sally's house, and he kisses her before she goes back into the house.
And then Zoe is upset with Sally, but then
Yeah.
isn't upset, and they're friends.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. So let's go back to working through it. So the bike scene with the kids, that was, I so they're sitting outside the graveyard, and they're like, okay, don't ride through it.
because
and
the
it's-
ghost of Martha's gonna get you.
Yeah, the ghost in the graveyard. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's like a normal children's fear.
But it's not even nighttime.
I know. That's what I was going to get to. So a children's fear that it's one of those things that you dare a kid to do, right? Go touch the doorbell on that house or whatever, right? So one, it's daytime. 2, the graveyard's not even creepy. It's well kept. 3, there's a paved runway that goes all the way through it.
So as you can tell, there's an open gate, like an open road. People are cutting through here all the time.
Yeah, they go through there all the time to visit the past loved ones or whatever the case may be. Like, it's not an abandoned graveyard. It's very well looked after. So my question is, so this one kid decides to go through alone and he gets murdered. He's the only one that gets murdered. Why this kid? What did he ever do? Did he know Martha? Is he part of the family? What is this? None of this made sense.
And
Why
and
did
the fact
he get
and the
picked?
murder was so bad, where the
Oh, it's
camera angle
terrible.
of like just like the baseball like going towards the kid's head in like a bludgeoning way, like back and forth, and then there's blood on the baseball. I'm like, this is awful.
Well, even just the
filmmaking.
chase scene. So he sees the kid. He sees Martha, and he keeps like looking back, and he's pedaling like a maniac. But every time he looks back, she's in the same spot because the scenery hasn't changed. But she's no closer to him, and he's still looking back like she's on his tail. And I'm like, what is going on here? Does he even? What is this? Like, she's not even closer, and he's getting away, but he's still really weirded out by it. And from the angle of it, he wasn't even over. She wasn't even over his shoulder. Like,
It wasn't like she was gaining on him or something.
it wasn't even like, I don't even think she was even near him. Like, from what looking at the camera angle, I couldn't tell that he could see her. It
Yeah.
was just only because they were flicking back and forth between the two points of view that you would think that he was looking at her. And then like she kills him, and it gets drawn back to her grave for some reason. Like, I don't even get that. Like, did he die by her grave? I thought he because he went over that hill.
No, I don't think he died by her grave.
Yeah, but then the
necessarily.
sheriff said later the boy was killed by Martha's grave, and that's why it was a big problem. So I'm like,
Oh.
I don't even get it.
Well, because and then I don't even know. I guess they could see evidence of where he was dragged from. But remember, the police said that she was dragged in. He was dragged into one of the.
Yeah, barefoot. These barefoot impressions lead into the mausoleum.
Yeah,
You know what
that's right.
I don't even know about that one. One, the ground wasn't wet. There was no recent rain. There's nothing
And do
like
ghosts
that.
leave impressions like that?
Do ghosts leave impressions? Secondly, and then footsteps going into the mausoleum. You know what the mausoleum is? Stone. You're not leaving bare footprints in stone. I'm sorry.
No, I hear you.
So I don't even know. So then after that, they go to school, and for some reason, do you know why they sent police officers to guard Sally? They put police officers outside her house. Why?
So I do remember that when they were kind of investigating the murder of the little boy, I want to say his name was Tommy, maybe. That is when Sally showed up to the graveyard to leave flowers for Martha.
Yeah, so that I
And
remember.
then the one police officer says to the other one, "Want me to keep an eye on her?" And he's like, "Yeah."
but like, why?
I guess that whole thing is like sometimes people
Okay,
who commit crimes return to the scene type of thing.
I don't know. I don't even know. It's so random to me. So you're a police officer. One, first of all, you believe a ghost is out killing kids in the graveyard, and then two, a girl that's been gone.
Oh,
for
I
a
thought
while.
I interpreted it like they thought Sally was a suspect.
I don't know. I don't. That's what it. That's
Well, there's a
another
lot
thing.
of holes in this
So
movie.
I did get the impression that she was a suspect, and then I also got the impression that they were trying to protect her too.
Well, of course
Right?
they're trying to protect her because to skip ahead, but then come back is they knew she was the descendant of Mary, and they need to protect her from evil forces.
So, like, because remember the police officers went to her dad's store,
yeah,
and they're like, "Hey, maybe we should put some cameras up." Like, they were protecting this family.
yeah, they were protecting the family because all these people knew she was a descendant of Mary.
Yes. So then they sent the officer over to her house to protect her.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. That's what I mean. You're guessing.
Yeah, of
Right?
course I'm guessing because this wasn't a good movie, John. Of course I'm guessing.
For sure.
There's like ginormous holes in this.
That's
plot.
why I'm getting back to the point. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. Like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be guessing, right? And like all the stuff that they're talking about. So, Reed shows up to visit Sally. She walks out the front door, and then they do a big commotion of zooming in on that open front door. I don't know why. And then you see a person walk in the house, just like a black sweater.
Yeah, like a hooded creature
Yeah.
type of thing.
So then Sally goes back in, hears something on the baby monitor, goes upstairs to investigate, pulls the blanket back. There's a doll, and then she goes downstairs, and Zoe's holding her baby in the living room. Why'd
Why'd you put the doll there in the
Yeah.
first place?
what's all that about? Like I don't
And
know.
it's like you're not even friends with someone, right? They're not friends.
I know.
They even through a flashback they showed that they were never friends. They were always enemies.
I noted that
And
they
s-
were
and
turds
so-
as little girls, and they became turds as high school girls,
And-
right? Like,
yeah, and like you go into a random house just because it's ajar, and you go and grab a baby who I also assume you've never met before,
yeah, and you
and
don't.
leave a doll in its place with a blanket over it.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong with this. There's just really a lot wrong.
Now,
with this.
with that scene though, because then in that scene it's kind of Zoe and Sally talking, but then they're like lying together like friends on the floor, like that typical
Yeah.
like teenage girl pose where like you're like lying on your back head to head and your hair's kind of mismatched with each other type of thing.
Yeah, and they're talking about life
like they're
or whatever.
like they're
right?
best friends, right?
Yeah,
But then there was a good line there where Zoe turns to her and is like, "What are you, Sally Darko?"
oh yeah,
I
remember
did
that
like
one.
that, right? 'Cause she was talking about like the giant rabbit or something like
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
like I thought that was a kind of a cool reference. And then I did think it was funny when kind of Zoe grabs Sally by the wrists and then like squeezes so hard that she like gets blood on her fingers.
Well,
And-
it's like her nails grew.
yeah, but then goes outside and starts like rubbing the blood on her face and like licking her fingers.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is awesome. I actually thought that was a cool scene right there.
I thought this. I didn't understand it. I was like,
Oh no, I
what?
didn't understand it either, but I just thought it was a cool visual. I'm like, that's kind of creepy, like her like rubbing the blood on her face and licking her fingers and stuff like that.
I know it's. I don't. This was a hard one to watch. Like it really was a hard one
Yeah.
to watch, and for a lot of reasons. And I guess they were trying to lay breadcrumbs when they're talking. When Sally was in the class and that nun was talking about Beelzebub, which is another name for Satan, and all.
But it's
these
also
other
kind of
things.
ridiculous that like that person, I can't even pronounce the name, but the person that they're talking about ends up being the person that's relevant to the story. You know what I mean?
The Beelzebub.
Yeah.
Well, that's the devil, right? That's
Okay.
that's the devil, and that's who they're talking about. And they also gave another name, which they said Lucifer, which is the devil.
Yeah.
And they also said Abaddon, and that's from
Abaddon Hotel from
Yeah. Hell House.
Hell House LLC.
Yeah.
Shout out to that movie. Love that movie way more than this one.
Oh, way scary. A really good movie. But yeah, so when they said Abaddon, oh, okay, that's interesting. But it's so weird. Like, and then there's a random coven as well. Like, what was that at the very beginning? Like, what was that? The coven, those people in the mausoleum. Like, remember when Martha fell into that grave? There was all the visual images of those women, singing and around a fire or whatever it was.
I think
like,
those are probably the witches that they were talking about.
Yeah, where do they fall into this? Like, are they the ones trying? Like,
They're the ones that like you kind of saw when Martha fell into the graveyard or to her death. They were kind of like lingering around the top of the hill surrounding the graveyard, and then kind of at the end, they were the ones that they kind of killed.
yeah,
But one thing that we're kind of skipping over here is, and it was my favorite part of the movie, the ridiculous conversation between dad and the brother.
that was ridiculous. I did. Okay, I did note that one. That one's the best.
Takes him out for dinner, and then the brother's just like doing the typical, "Dad, what's up? I can tell there's something wrong." And then like he hits him with like this huge like but veiled nonsensical revelation, and it's like, "I need your help to battle the forces of evil. Do you have my back, son?" And without asking like any follow-up questions, any details, the son's like, "Yes, I do."
You bet I do.
Like it was just so ridiculous, right?
There's been a battle for centuries between good and evil, and I need your help. Are you in? Yes.
Yeah, like no questions about how do we fit into this? Like, is Sally actually my sister? Are you actually our dad? Like, just nothing. Just like, yeah, you're hitting me with this right now. And it's not like he's like a young boy. He's
Yeah.
like 22, 23.
Yeah, he's a man.
Yeah, it's like, no, I have some questions to ask you here, Father. Like
Like,
about
what
our
do you-
battle
what do you-
against good and evil.
Yeah, like what are you talking about?
Yeah.
First of all, right? Like,
Can
kind of
I
big
get a
deal.
couple more details here? It's
Yeah.
almost as if like the writer didn't yet have the details, so he had to keep it as veiled as possible.
I don't even. It's very hard to watch. Once again, I keep saying that, but it's kind of true, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, my favorite part was, I'll tell you, right, is when the officer was outside Sally's house and he was doing that crossword, the crossword full of horror movies.
Yeah.
That was a good one. All those different references for horror movies.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
like
I'd like that crossword.
Hellraiser, yeah.
Yeah. I like that part. That was actually
But
pretty
then
good.
like when she then leaves the house to kind of chase after Martha, Um,
And Martha kills that cop when you're talking about
yeah,
why is she killing random people, but she's an angel.
yeah.
So yeah, she kills that cop who did nothing wrong.
But Sally leaves the baby.
Yeah.
After having the whole
Yeah.
scare of like the previous time she left the house, someone came in and grabbed the baby.
Yeah.
She leaves the baby.
Yeah.
Like, how does that make sense?
This does not make sense.
And then what I love too is, and maybe this is one of those movies where it's so bad it's good, but it's not. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When the police go to the graveyard and the nun just happens to be waiting there to bless them,
Yeah.
buddy.
There's no lead up to any of this stuff. There's no lead up.
And like, we can't make this stuff up. Like, people who are listening to this who haven't seen this movie, it's like, what are these guys just like making up a movie as they're going? No, it's just that crazy.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where it's like, okay, so Sally was the descendant of Mary.
I guess
Which Mary?
like Jesus's mom.
Or
Oh,
Mary?
sorry. I mean, Jesus's mom. Jesus's wife.
No, what is
Oh, his mom. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So Mary, so that's the Virgin Mary. as
Virgin Mary, yeah.
everyone knows of. And then there's also Mary Magdalene. They didn't.
Oh.
It might have been her, but they didn't say. They didn't specify, right? So there's and it felt like a poor attempt at a Da Vinci Code type of scenario,
Yeah, a little
right?
bit.
But very poorly scripted. Not even nearly as sophisticated as what Dan Brown put out. Like, it's just like. I don't even know. I don't know how much more I can talk about this film. Can we say anything positive about it? Can we do that?
Before we end the positive, though,
Yes.
I got to talk about how thirsty the ending was. Her final monologue. Like, I've never seen a movie want a sequel like more than this film right here. When she's like, and then I found out that we were in a battle versus good and evil, and this was only the beginning. I'm like, oh my gosh, they want a sequel so badly.
No. Here's a question for you. So the brother's there with the Jeep, right? So to pick her up and leave. Dad's getting taken away in the ambulance, right? And there's people being looked after. So she gets into the back seat of the Jeep,
I noted this too.
and he gets into the passenger side,
And then it drives away.
and then it drives away. Who was driving the Jeep?
They have a driver, obviously, John.
I was just like, what's going on?
Yeah, like this,
What
like,
is
and
going
as I said, like,
on?
it started out with like kind of, I thought it was an interesting premise with kind of like those cool things. Where was she? Whose baby is this? But you didn't get any answers. If anything, you got more questions.
Oh, you got so many questions.
But good things about this movie, I don't know. Like, I'd never heard of the game Ghost in the Graveyard, so I looked up and saw what that was.
And is that a real game?
Yeah, it is a real game.
Okay.
Basically, you have a group of friends. You kind of have home base. One person goes and hides, and as soon as someone sees them, they say "Ghost in the Graveyard," and then everyone has to run back to home base before the ghost tags anyone.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Is that a positive learning? I learned.
Learning is always positive, I would think.
Okay.
What? Okay, before we get back to the positive, what was with the sheriff like saying weird things and before shooting the witches every time? Remember, they were all over Sally, and her dad was nailed to that
Yeah.
cross, and he would say some stupid
Like catchphrase almost.
catchphrase or something. Or it might have been something from the Bible. But these witches weren't even trying hard to hurt anyone. They're just kind of sitting there, moving back and forth like a couple of snakes. They weren't like scratching or trying to stab or kill anyone.
Yeah.
And he's blowing every one of them away with a shotgun. I'm like, what is going on here?
Good thing he had such a good shot.
Well, he's probably using slugs. But yeah, it's very odd, very odd. But okay, so positives. Jake Busey was in it. I like him.
This was not a low budget film.
I would say that's more on the negative.
Well,
You
I'm just saying you're not gonna, if you turn this movie on, it's not gonna be something like someone filmed with their camcorder. You'll be like, oh, hey, this is some good production quality with good filming and lighting and
For sure, had
editing.
all that stuff, yeah.
And then it just doesn't make sense why it's so poorly written and put together.
Yeah.
If it actually had a budget, it had money.
Yeah. So I guess that's both positive and negative.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. You had money, you had something to work with, and you threw it away. Right.
Positive.
Yep.
This will not be released in theaters.
That's good.
It's going straight onto digital streaming platforms on November the 5th. and it'll be available on Amazon, Hoopla, Vimeo on Demand, and Fandango.
Okay.
So that's a positive. Not taking up theaters.
It wouldn't have passed that grade for sure. Right? There have been way there's no way anyone would say, "Yeah, I'll show that at my theater." I don't see that happening.
John, is this the worst movie we've ever reviewed on the podcast?
Well,
You have to at least say it's in the bottom 5.
oh, it's tied with 2 others.
Okay. Which I'm
That's
not going to make you name, but I was
No.
just, as I was watching, I'm like, this might be the worst movie we've done on the podcast.
Yeah, but it might even be worse than the worst ones because it had a budget.
No, I hear what you're
You know
saying.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the other
Well-
ones didn't, and they were terrible, but they had no money to work with, and no like actors really that were professional actors really. to
Yeah,
work
and
with.
as I always say, like, I disliked Mandy, I disliked A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, but at least those had stories that made sense to them, right?
Yeah, they had stories for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And they made more sense than this. Like I said, this felt like a movie full of unfinished thoughts, unfinished scenes, and just nothing tying it together at the end.
And it's almost as if the studio heard the pitch, hey, kids playing this Ghost in the Graveyard, one dies and comes back and haunts them. Okay, that's a cool premise. Let's
Yeah.
greenlight this thing. And
Yeah.
then just like never followed up on it.
Here's the thing. Like, we're not even scratching the surface of all the stuff that was actually wrong with this.
Oh, we'd need a 2-hour podcast. We'd have to go scene by scene and dissect all the issues.
Oh my
here.
God! It's mostly with the writing. I wouldn't say the acting was subpar. It was mostly with the writing and just with the way the scenes were put together. Like, really, really a lot of issues with that.
Okay, back to the positive.
Okay, sorry.
I
Positive.
liked. Remember that creepy dude who was in the hardware store buying stuff?
Yeah, that was actually good. Yeah.
I thought that was cool. And then looking up, that was actually the director
Oh, really?
doing a cameo. And so the character's name was Stanley Bricker,
Mm-hmm.
who visits the hardware store gathering dubious supplies. And later, and I didn't see this, but it says later he was seen on a wanted poster in the police station. And they named him Stanley as a shout out to legendary director.
Kubrick?
Yep.
Oh,
So I
man.
guess our director here, just looking up his name again, Charlie Comparetto, is a huge Kubrick fan.
Well, and so was that the director of Witnesses. Remember?
Yeah, and his name is escaping me right now. But
Yeah, but he had
Christopher Burger, maybe.
he had a bunch of references in his movies.
Yeah.
His movie, but Witnesses was good.
And also, this director is also a big fan of the Allman Brothers,
Oh.
because the Ghost Martha was named after 2 Allman Brothers songs in memory of Elizabeth Reed and Little Martha,
Mhm.
and her grave read in memory of Little Martha.
Oh.
It's kind of a shout out to that. So
Yeah.
I guess those are positives, having some shout outs to some cool things. Like, I
Well,
like Stanley Kubrick, I like the Allman Brothers.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, let's go with that.
Do you have any positives to add, buddy?
I liked that Jake Busey was in it. That's about it.
That's your positive.
Yeah.
Some people like this movie.
Oh,
On IMDb, it's sitting at 6.1 out of 10. Only 19 reviews, but that's still a passing grade.
oh my God.
And again, if this was Rotten Tomatoes, 60% would be certified fresh.
Okay. I'm kind of suspicious about who voted for that then.
Yeah. No, well, maybe, you know what? Maybe we should check back in a couple months after it's been out for a while and see what the score is sitting at then.
I think that would be a good idea.
Well, buddy, anything else to add on this one?
Absolutely not.
Well, folks, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Twitter and Instagram @DamnMovies. We want to hear what you thought of today's podcast and any suggestions you have, especially in terms of what movies you'd like us to discuss next. Send us an email to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. Please also check out John's full-length novels. His first 2 novels, Dollhouse and The Tracker, are Amazon bestsellers, and his new novella, Balance, is also available on Amazon. You can pre-order John's newest full-length novel, Off the Grid, right now at blackrosewriting.com. For further details on John's other published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, and I also have a short story anthology that'll be released on October 31st, 4 Shots of Horror. And so far it's been getting good reviews, so I'm happy with that. And once again, thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you have a great week. Be kind to everyone.